one of the movies this past year that uh, among the list of those that were out there for Best Picture, at least I think so, it was called simply The Room. I didn't see, anybody see it, The Room? I hear it was very bleak and difficult, huh? And basically, I went online to get the story because I'd heard about it, and I wanted to try and get a few details correct. And this is what I understand from what I read on the internet. This young woman, was kidnapped by this guy, call him Old Nick or something like that. And he got a child by her and locked her in a shed with the child and kept them captive for 5 years, this boy's growth. And he had never seen outside the boy, never knew anything of the world outside at all. There was a skylight. He could see the sky. That was it. And then she read stories to him and told him things, but he'd never seen the world. So his whole world was the room. He knew nothing except what was told to him. He experienced nothing but the room. And then the story goes on, and apparently she finally breaks out and devises a way to get out because she's worried if she doesn't. And this man dies, they will die because they had no way of getting out. So I guess that's the story. But what fascinated me every time I heard anything about it spoken about in preparation for the Academy Awards was the idea of somebody having their whole worldly existence being inside a room and not seeing or knowing anything by their experience. And the only way you could imagine it would be to imagine it, or believe in it maybe because you were told. And one of the comments I read about it was, there was this fear, what if he did experience outside world, could he handle it? Could you walk out of a room that you've lived in for 5 years, that's all you've ever known, and suddenly see that there's this enormous thing called the earth, the universe? And what would happen if somebody suddenly was exposed to and able to appreciate and participate in something so much bigger? Well, in a way, I think it's a good parallel to what we are supposed to experience in faith. And why it is that we grapple with trying to understand this God, or at least take in some way the meaning of this God, and all of the stuff that happens in our life as a result of knowing this God. Now, I think that there's no way to understand God. There's no way to label God or put God in a box and say we've got him figured out. This is just too big a thing. My favorite example is that spaceship to Pluto. 9.5 years leaving Earth to pass by Pluto, 8,000 miles away, or 80,000, so it could take pictures. Took 9.5 years flying at, I think it was 4.7 miles per second. That's how long it took. That's how big just part of our galaxy is, not to mention the other galaxies and perhaps other universes. And God's bigger than all that. So it becomes a little problematic when we hear, there's 2 readings today that deal with somebody being raised from the dead. In the first story, Elijah goes to this house, he visits, the man of God comes to this house, they welcome him in with hospitality, and they find out that this young man, the mistress of the house, has stopped breathing. And the woman really complains, man of God, it's your fault. Why did you come and visit me from God? You're the one who brought this calamity on me. So Elijah says, give me your son, and takes him upstairs to his bed and puts him on the son's bed. And he says to God, and the Jews love this. The Jews are always fighting with God. How could you do this to me? I come here and you've ruined my day. You've made this really tough. Now this woman's all upset with me. You got to do something, God. You got to bring it back. And so it says he lay down on him 3 times, breathing, whatever, and he comes back and he presents him to her. And then she says, oh my God, your God really is God. And he really is great. And she comes to believe. Now, it's problematic for me because really, God didn't know what to do? God needed someone to fight with him and argue? Did Elijah change his mind? Did God not know in advance what was supposed to be done? Was this all a test? Why would he have to test us anyway? We say God knows every thought even before we think it. But I think it is probably more coming out of the Jewish culture and their growing understanding of who this God is and how God relates in our lives. And it's just as mysterious for us now. I mean, when we ask things of God, really, we ask them, and it's because last hope. It's hoping against hope. God, please make this happen. When everybody says it can't be, it's over, and then we pray like mad to God. Now, do we change God's mind if the person comes back? And if the person doesn't come back, is God just being mean to us today? Well, I changed it for the hoopers, but not for the poopers, or whatever, These people got their way, these people didn't. It's a strange God. And what if both of them are equally loving and faithful people? Why would he do it for one and not for another? So we say things like, well, it's God's will. We can't understand his will. Okay, I guess. But I have trouble with that. But I don't have trouble with the great is going on here. That people come to the point of dying and sometimes they come back and it's just beyond all hope. I just happened to be talking with a young man last night, and it connects beautifully because I went to ordinations today for our 9 new priests for the Archdiocese of LA. And this guy I was talking to last night wants to go to the seminary. And his main reason is this. He said a few years ago his mother's kidney gave out. And she was, I think kidney, she was going to die. The doctors, in fact, said to his father, who didn't understand any English, they all said to him that we shouldn't revive her. She's not going to be possible. And this young man, 17 at the time, said, no, Dad, no, they're not going to do that. No, they're not God. They don't know. No, don't sign it, Dad. And the father listened to his son and didn't sign it. Well, she got worse, and he had worked in a hospital for some time as a volunteer, and he went over to the hospital in tears and explained what was going on, and he had done all kinds of work for them because he was just passionate about helping, and they said, wait a minute, let us see what we can do. Anyway, somehow, I'll say miraculously, they got her on a list for a kidney like overnight, unheard of. And then it came down to, they said there were 6 people bidding for the 4 kidneys that were out there. And even if they got it, it'd have to be a match for it to work. Now, none of this should have taken place. The doctors called back and said, we've got the kidney for your mother. We're going to do it. They brought her in, and it took. And 48 hours, the most critical time, it took. And the mother's a healthy woman now. When the doctor said, no, she's going to die, just sign the papers. Really, it's over. And he said, no. So he said, in the journey, he said, God, whatever, I'll make a bargain. If you do this, I'll serve you the rest of my life. I'll be a priest. Well, his mother came back. Guess he has to be a priest now. Except that he said, nah, I don't believe that God is somebody who's going to say, you said it, you got to do it or else. But he really did a journey of faith in this. This whole encounter with almost losing his mother and all this miraculous events that got her what she needed, brought her back to life, and she's a healthy woman now. And he's really considering giving his whole life of service. Is that how it works? Yeah, that's how it works. So whatever this scene in this house where Elijah was, it doesn't matter to me exactly all of that stuff. What matters to me is what happened to these people in their faith, and how did they develop and grow, and how did they come to this place where they firmly believed in this God. Jesus is walking through Nain, and he walks by a funeral procession. The man is dead. He didn't just stop breathing like the person that Elijah was visiting. The man is dead, pronounced dead. They're going to bury him. They're in procession on the way to the burial site, and Jesus is moved with pity. Just looking at them. Now, this isn't God in heaven who can't be moved or changed or argued with or fixed or informed. We're talking about Jesus, human. Yes, we say Son of God, but he was truly human, and he was perplexed, and he was able to be touched in his emotions, and he was. He saw a young man dead, a widowed woman, her only child, and that was it. Now, there is another side to this that you may not know, but for a widow to lose her son, she would have nothing. She didn't have rights to a house or to money or inheritance or anything. He did, but she didn't. She could be out on the streets. She could lose everything. So Jesus stops the procession. That's bold. Can you believe that? They're on the way. Stop the procession. Young man, I tell you, get up. Oh my God, it better work. Because if it doesn't, oh, what an insult and what a slap to this woman who already has lost everything and now embarrassed. Young man, I tell you, get up. And he does. And he comes back to life, and fame went out everywhere. Part of me always asks after something like this, so why didn't everyone believe? I don't get it. Somebody was raised from the dead and they don't believe still? I don't get it. And what's more, what's it got to do with us, really? Is it just a story from the past? Well, if we listen to the second reading, it's a great connector tonight because Paul tells us his own testimony. He says, you don't know this about me, but for years I was going around persecuting Christians. I did everything I could to destroy them and their families, put them in jail. I couldn't be happier when I could snatch the whole family. And he said, I didn't change because some man came along and told me something, tried to convince me. I'm changed because Jesus Christ did it to me. He reached into me and revealed himself to me in a way that I believed. Because of that, I have never been the same. So, we hear these stories of two young men raised from the dead. Happen to be both widowed women. That makes the story just a little more intense. And what's it got to do with you and me? Well, there's lots of ways to be dead. Physical death isn't the only death. People can die intellectually. They haven't had a new opinion in years, and they're proud of the fact. They don't want to think differently. That's what I think, and that's what I believe, and you can't change my mind. That organ up there is dead. It ain't doing anything. People die emotionally, usually out of great pain and hurt, many times because of a death. A death was so awesome and painful to them that they just go on living, but they stop living in most ways. It's really sad because there are all kinds of people that want to love them and help them, and they can't let it in. They don't know how to do it. People can die socially. They can, in their families, if they're friends, they can walk out of friendships and let go of people because sometimes they don't even know why, but they do. And all that richness of love that's out there for them, it's unavailable because something has died in their ability to stay in a healthy relationship. And then there's all those little ways that we die every day. Die to what I'd call a vibrant world of life and love that's possible, like living in a little tiny room. What if you walked out the door and said, oh my, look at this existence? In many ways, call it sin, call it our own narrowness, our hard-heartedness, whatever it is. But little things that we do every day, little ways that we don't want to be open to compassion and love. You hear me say it all too often. We get off the freeway and see the person begging, and the hardness of heart pops up. Well, I'm not going to give them anything. They're probably going to just go drink. So what? If I were living on the street like them, I'd probably drink too. Give me another one. This is life? So, and whatever they do with it, does it really matter? What's a buck? For someone who's living on the street, it's a lifeline. For me, it's embarrassingly nothing. And so we can die in that inner space of faith where we should be enthralled and and recognize that we're not living in some tiny room, but we've been given this world of existence. It's incredible. And we believe in a God who through it all keeps blessing us each and every day. Today, these two stories of raising someone from the dead, it's physical death they're being raised from. But I really believe that today, even before this night is over, God intends to do some raising of the dead in each one of us. And it takes a mind and a heart and a spirit that's alert and is seeking. Almost every time someone comes to me and goes to confession, I encourage them to do something, because this is typical. They sin, they get down on themselves and think they've failed again, and then they struggle to get confession so they can wipe it clean. They sin, they feel all bad about it again, and struggle until they can get to confession, get it wiped away. They sin, you get the point. I say, what if you did something different? You sinned, and instead of just feeling bad about it, why not engage God right there? Okay, God, I blew it again. I'm sorry. I know you love me. I know you forgive me. You're God, for God's sake. You're good. You're big. But I need your help here. I need you to grab my hand right in the midst of my sin. I need you to come into my life right now and guide me and love me and caress me and show me. I don't want to be alone, detached from you. I need you even more. So I'm not going to wait till I go to confession so I get it wiped clean and then think my relationship with you is good again. It's good here. And I need you more than ever right now. And to not do that is kind of like dying until I can get it all wiped away and come back to life. Really? But right here is the opportunity for an enormous infusion of God's life into my sinfulness, into my struggle. Because I see Jesus come along and Elijah's come along working in the name of God and seeing some impossible situations. 2 young men are dead. 2 widows are without anything, have lost all hope, and are deeply saddened. And this man of God, a prophet, and this Jesus, Son of God, comes and brings life where there was death. And for you and for me, for everyone in this room tonight, wherever there is death in our life, why not call upon the Lord and see if indeed we can find life too?